That check engine light just cost you $2,500. Not because you ignored it, because you had $42 in your account. You're driving to work, already late, coffee in hand. And then, check engine light. Of course. You already know it's not a $12 fix. It never is. But you grab your phone at the next red light anyway. $42 until Friday. So you do what anyone in that position does. You turn up the radio. You tell yourself it's probably just a sensor. The car is being dramatic. You'll deal with it next month. 2 months later, that $300 fix is now a $2,500 disaster. Tow truck, transmission gone, missed work, stress you couldn't afford, in any sense of the word. That's not bad luck. That's not poor planning. That's what $42 in your account actually costs you. Most financial content will tell you to budget better, track your spending, cut the lattes. What they skip, being broke is one of the most expensive financial positions you can be in. Not because of bad decisions, because of how the math works when you have nothing. And that's exactly what we're breaking down today. Most advice treats poverty like a discipline problem. Stop buying coffee, cancel Netflix, just budget better. As if the missing link between struggle and stability is a caramel latte. Meanwhile, people are working longer hours, picking up side gigs, logging overtime, doing everything they were told would get them ahead, and the bank account still never crosses into safety. Not growing, surviving. Here's why. There's a concept that explains this better than most financial gurus ever will. The boots theory. Terry Pratchett, 1993. Simple idea, brutal math. A wealthy man buys $50 boots. High quality, last 10 years. A poor man can only afford $10 boots. Falls apart every year. 10 years later, the poor man spent $100, has wet feet. The wealthy man spent $50, has dry feet, and $50 still in his pocket. Same goal, opposite outcome. The only variable, what you could afford up front. That's not a metaphor. That's your car repair, your appliances, your interest rate, your grocery run. You pay more because you don't have money. Being broke isn't just hard. It's expensive in ways most people feel but can't quite name. Until now. Later, I'll show you exactly how to start breaking the cycle. But first, we need to understand how deep it actually goes. This isn't just about boots. When you don't have money, your brain changes. Financial stress measurably reduces cognitive performance by around 13 IQ points, the mental equivalent of a full night without sleep. Now imagine trying to make long-term financial decisions in that state. That's scarcity. Your brain isn't thinking about retirement accounts. It's thinking, how do I make it to Friday? So you take the payday loan. You overdraft the account. You delay the dentist because the cavity doesn't hurt yet. From the outside, irresponsible. From the inside, necessary. Because scarcity doesn't just drain your wallet. It drains the exact mental bandwidth you need to get out. Planning, comparing options, negotiating, thinking long term. All of it runs on the same cognitive resource that financial stress is quietly burning through. It's hard to build wealth when your brain is in emergency mode. And here's the part nobody talks about. Let's slow this down, because this is where the pattern becomes obvious. It's not about one bad decision. It's about structural friction. Let's start small. Groceries. If you walk into a store with $50 in your account, you buy bulk. Bigger pack, lower unit cost, breathing room. If you walk in with $4 left, you buy the smallest size available. Toilet paper is a clean example. Mega pack, about 50 cents per roll. Small pack, $1.50 per roll. Same product, triple the cost. Notice what just happened. You paid more because you couldn't afford to pay more up front. That's the poverty premium. Now scale that pressure up. Banking. If you keep $10,000 in your checking account, banks treat you well. No overdraft anxiety, maybe perks, maybe interest. If you have $20 and a $25 subscription hits early, you overdraft by $5. The bank charges $35. You effectively borrowed $5 for a few hours and paid absurd interest for the privilege. The wealthy earn interest. The broke pay it. See the direction this moves? Now let's raise the stakes. Cars. A financially stable buyer walks into a dealership with good credit and savings. They finance a reliable $20,000 vehicle at 5%. It lasts 10 years. Someone without savings and with weaker credit, they buy an $8,000 car, often overpriced, at up to 24% interest. Over the life of the loan, they might pay $15,000. And here's the part that hurts. The car often dies before the loan does. So now you're making payments on something that no longer works. That's not transportation. That's compounding fragility. And now we get to the level that really locks people in. Housing. You rent for $2,000 a month because you can't save for a down payment. Ownership in that same area might cost $1,200. So every month you're paying more for zero equity. You're covering the landlord's mortgage and their margin. You're renting your shelter, renting your stability, renting your future. And none of this started because you were lazy. It started because you didn't have margin. And when you don't have margin, everything costs more. Here's the part they'll never put in a brochure. The system isn't broken, it's designed, just not for you. Banks budget for overdraft fees. Dealerships model bad credit into pricing. Late fees, penalty rates, high APR plans, engineered income streams. Built on one assumption: some customers will always be one paycheck behind. Your instability is their business model. They don't profit when you're stable. When you have a cushion, the fee structure collapses. So the most disruptive move you can make? Build a buffer, not for interest, to exit the category of customer their margins depend on. Overdraft fees? Irrelevant. Predatory lots? No leverage. Late fee traps? Gone. The buffer doesn't just protect you, it reclassifies you. How do you actually break out of this? Not crypto, not index funds, not a side hustle you saw on TikTok. If you're paying 20% interest on a credit card, chasing 8% market returns doesn't fix anything. You're bailing out a sinking boat while the drain is still open. You stop the bleeding first. That's the only move that matters right now. And it starts with $1,000. Not a lot of money, but the right kind of money. Liquid, available, yours. Watch what changes. Flat tire on a Tuesday? Annoying, not a crisis. Washing machine leaks? You fix it this week, not in 3 months when it's worse. $25 subscription hits early? No overdraft. No $35 fee on top of it. Need a durable product? You buy it once instead of the cheap version twice. Every one of those is money that stays in your pocket, and it compounds. Not like an investment, like armor. Each layer makes the next hit smaller. Each buffer you build makes the next emergency cheaper. Here's where it gets interesting, because up until this point, every financial decision you made was reactive. Something breaks, you scramble. Something hits early, you panic. You're always one step behind the problem. $1,000 changes the equation. Slowly, then suddenly, you stop reacting. You start choosing. And that's the moment the game actually shifts. Not from poor to rich, from defense to offense, from surviving the month to planning the next one. That's not a small thing. That's everything. You also have to change the question. Stop asking, can I afford the monthly payment? Start asking, what's the total cost of ownership? The dealership wants you focused on $400 a month. They don't want you doing the math on $33,600 over 7 years. That's not an accident. That's the design. The system profits from short-term thinking. Wealth is built on long-term math. Now here's the trap most people never see coming. When you finally have a little extra cash after months of grinding, every part of you wants relief. A dinner out, a new jacket, something that says, I made it through. That instinct is completely valid, and it will quietly keep you stuck. Because that same cash, pointed at a high interest balance, eliminates a permanent cost. Pointed at the durable option stops the replacement cycle. Pointed at your emergency fund removes you from the category of people one bad week away from debt. That's not sacrifice, that's a trade. You're not denying yourself something, you're buying your future self out of a trap. Every penalty you eliminate is progress that doesn't reverse. Every high-interest balance you close is a monthly payment that disappears forever. You're not just saving money, you're buying boots that last. Look, this is unfair. Let's say that clearly. Getting from $0 to $10,000 is brutally hard. The wind is in your face, every system charges you extra for being there, but here's what nobody tells you. The climb from $10,000 to $100,000 feels easier. Not luck. The math flipped. Same systems, opposite outcome. Poverty isn't a moral failure. It's a mathematical penalty. Once you see that, stop blaming yourself. Start targeting the penalties. Cut the vampire costs. Overdrafts, high interest debt, the cheap version you replace 3 times. Build margin. Choose durability. Real wealth isn't luxury. It's removing fragility. The difference between one bad week cascading into a bad year and one bad week being just a bad week. Being broke is expensive, but now you see the equation, which means you can start rewriting it.